These NFL players are remembered as being better than they actually were, starting with Odell Beckham. OBJ exploded onto the scene in 2014 when the Giants drafted him 12th overall. Despite missing 4 games, he torched defenses for 91 catches, 1,305 yards, and 12 touchdowns. That debut earned him Offensive Rookie of the Year and made him the only first-year receiver to hit 90 receptions and double-digit scores. In that season came the catch, the ridiculous one-handed grab against Dallas. The next 2 years proved it wasn't a fluke. In 2015, he posted 96 catches, 1,450 yards, and 13 touchdowns. He made the Madden 16 cover, and in year 3, brought in 101 receptions, 1,367 yards, and 10 scores. Those first 3 campaigns averaged 96 grabs, 1,374 yards, and nearly 12 touchdowns. At 24, Beckham was outpacing Jerry Rice. Fans loved his explosiveness, hands, and his hair. He seemed destined for Canton. But after those 3 magical years, the bottom fell out. A fractured ankle limited him to just 4 games in 2017. His final 1,000-yard season came in Cleveland in 2019 before being cut a few seasons later. Los Angeles briefly revived him during their Super Bowl run, but he tore his ACL in that championship game. After missing 2022, Baltimore and Miami followed with forgettable stints before his December 2024 release. He finished with 575 catches, 7,987 yards, 60 touchdowns across 10 seasons. Respectable, but miles from his trajectory. The nostalgia of those first 3 seasons is what lingers. Odell became more myth than reality, remembered not for what his career was, but for what it should have been. And the same goes for the most overrated player in NFL history with Bo Jackson. He's got a stranglehold on the 30-plus crew, and I don't think they understand they've been brainwashed and fell victim to Bo knows propaganda. Bo Jackson looked like a superhero playing football. The 1985 Heisman winner got drafted first overall by Tampa Bay in 1986, but chose baseball instead. The Raiders grabbed him the following year in the 7th round, and Al Davis let him play both sports, baseball first, football after. In 1987 on Monday Night Football, Jackson ran over trash-talking linebacker Brian Bosworth and finished with 221 yards, still a Monday Night Football record. Over 4 seasons playing part-time, he racked up 2,782 yards on 515 carries, averaging 5.4 per attempt. He recorded 2 90-plus yard runs, the most in NFL history, and his 1989 campaign was his peak. 950 yards, 5.5 yards per carry, and 4 scores in 11 games. Fans couldn't get enough of his explosive speed and punishing power. Then January 13th, 1991 happened. During a playoff game against Cincinnati, Jackson dislocated his hip on a routine tackle. The injury destroyed blood flow to his hip, and his football career ended at age 28. He only finished his career with 38 games, 2,782 yards, and 18 touchdowns. Pretty good for a part-timer, but nothing compared to what could have been, and not even as good as the Hall of Fame teammate he had at the same position, who we'll get to a little bit later. Bo's legend isn't about what he accomplished, it's about the brief, blazing glimpse of what might have been the greatest athlete ever. And speaking of possibly the greatest athlete ever, we have my actual favorite player of all time, and Michael Vick. I started watching the NFL around 2010 when Vick was on the Eagles, and is the reason I'm an Eagles fan to this day. Luckily, because I don't know if I would have made it as a Falcons fan. There's just pain and misery there. However, that being said, I do think we remember him better than what he was, though his peak was crazy. Michael Vick revolutionized the quarterback position with his legs, but the passing game tells a different story. The first overall pick in 2001 out of Virginia Tech was electric, and nobody could deny that. He became the first QB to rush for 1,000 yards in a season, finishing with 6,109 career rushing yards. But here's what gets glossed over. Vick completed just 56% of his passes over 13 seasons. He threw 133 touchdowns against 88 interceptions with a pedestrian 80 passer rating. Those aren't potential Hall of Fame quarterback numbers that people like to claim he was on a trajectory for. And his playoff record? Just 2-3 with 0 Super Bowl appearances. In those games, he completed 54% of his passes and never posted a passer rating over 80. Those 2 playoff wins he managed, he threw for 199 yards combined. He did finish with 22,464 passing yards and 133 touchdowns across 143 games. Vick was must-see TV and changed how people viewed mobile quarterbacks. The Michael Vick experience was a real thing, but strip away the highlight reels and what remains is a dynamic runner who never developed into the complete passer the position demanded. The legend outpaced reality. And another legendary figure that still gets people upset when I say is overrated is Reggie Bush. Now, USC Reggie Bush, there's nothing to say. His college status is stamped forever. But Reggie Bush in the NFL, however, is just meh. Reggie Bush entered the NFL as one of the most hyped prospects ever. The 2005 Heisman winner was compared to Marshall Faulk, Barry Sanders, and Gale Sayers, Hall of Fame names for a can't-miss talent. The Saints grabbed him 2nd overall in 2006, and expectations were ridiculously high. But Bush never became that guy. Over 11 seasons bouncing between 5 teams, he rushed for 5,490 yards on 1,286 carries, averaging 4.3 yards per attempt. He managed only 2 1,000 rushing yard seasons in his entire career. The broken ankle's agility was seen few and far between. The workhorse mentality didn't exist. Bush finished with decent receiving numbers, 477 catches for 3,598 yards, but he was supposed to revolutionize the position, not become a glorified third down back. He never made a Pro Bowl, never led the league in anything meaningful, and his career totals are just okay. 5,490 rushing yards, 36 rushing TDs, 58 total touchdowns. Solid numbers for a role player, catastrophic for a second overall pick. Bush was electric in college, but the NFL exposed that he wasn't a bell cow franchise back. The hype made you think he was going to be something big in this league, and he just wasn't. Though his PR is still elite to this day. Talking about one player with elite PR, we have another in Christian Okoye. Christian Okoye earned his nickname the Nigerian Nightmare by running through defenders like a freight train. The Chiefs grabbed him in the second round in 1987, and at 6'1", 260 pounds running a 4.4 40, he was terrifying. His 1989 season was by far his best, leading the NFL with 370 carries and 1,480 yards, becoming the first Chief to lead the league in rushing. He earned AFC Offensive Player of the Year and looked unstoppable. But here's the catch. Okoye didn't start playing football until age 23. He was a track athlete who switched sports after Nigeria snubbed him for the Olympics, and that inexperience showed. Injuries destroyed his knees by 1992, and he retired at 31 after just 6 seasons. That Steve Atwater hit kinda broke him. He finished with only 4,897 yards, 40 touchdowns. Dominant when healthy, but the brutal workload broke him down. One spectacular season, another solid one, and then gone. The nightmare burned bright, but burned out fast. And someone else who burned out too fast was Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon Bell earned 3 Pro Bowls and 2 first-team All-Pro selections, looking like the NFL's most complete back. The 48th overall pick in 2013, Bell dominated in Pittsburgh. His 2014 season was spectacular, with 2,215 scrimmage yards, and his 2017 campaign featured 1,946 yards and 406 touches, while showcasing his patient running style and elite receiving ability. But Bell sat out 2018, demanding a massive contract, then flopped immediately after. He signed with the Jets for $52.5 million and averaged just 3.2 yards per carry in 2019. He bounced between Kansas City, Baltimore, and Tampa Bay as a backup, contributing almost nothing. Over 8 seasons, Bell rushed for 6,554 yards with a 4.1 average, mediocre efficiency inflated by volume. People remember his Pittsburgh dominance, ignoring how he quit on the Steelers and then became irrelevant. Bell was elite for 3 years, then washed at 27. His holdout completely destroyed his legacy. And another player who had all-field activities destroy his career was Colin Kaepernick, but not as much as you might think. This man was still getting workouts for some reason up until 2022. Which is absolutely crazy. Colin Kaepernick popped onto the scene in 2012 when he replaced injured Alex Smith and led the 49ers to the Super Bowl. His playoff debut is still stuff of legend. Against Green Bay, he had 263 passing yards and 181 rushing yards, which is still a record for any QB. He threw for 302 yards in the Super Bowl loss, and then reality set in. His completion percentage dropped from 62% to 58%, exposing accuracy issues. Defenses adjusted, and by 2014, the 49ers went 8-8. In 2015, he lost his job to Blaine Gabbert. He had 12,271 passing yards, 72 TDs, 30 interceptions, and an 89 passer rating over 6 seasons. Solid for a game manager, not a franchise QB. Kaepernick thrived in Jim Harbaugh's system with an elite defense masking his flaws. When that fell apart, so did he. 2 spectacular playoff runs and then done. The protests overshadowed the decline, but the decline was already there. We have a little run of Cowboy players up next, and I guess because they played for America's team, we remember them better than what they actually were. Beginning with Dez Bryant. Now this one may be a little bit biased because I used to work at Best Buy and he came in during one of my shifts when he played for Baltimore. He promised a picture after he said he had to get something from his car and I never saw him again. But this is my revenge. Dez Bryant wore number 88, the same number as Michael Irvin and Drew Pearson, Cowboys royalty, and for a few years, he backed it up. From 2012 to 2014, Bryant was elite. He averaged 91 catches, 1,312 yards, and 13 touchdowns. In 2014, he led the NFL with 16 receiving touchdowns and made first-team All-Pro. With Tony Romo throwing him jump balls, he was unstoppable. Then came the foot injury in 2015. Bryant was never the same. By 2016, playing with Dak instead of Romo, his production cratered, just 50 catches for 796 yards. Between 2012 and 2014, he averaged nearly 10 deep catches per season. In 2017, he had 1. 3 Pro Bowls and released in 2018 at age 29. 3 stops in New Orleans and Baltimore went nowhere. And Dez had a few spectacular years, but that was about it. Now the QB who was throwing to Dez for most of those years is in here as well, in Tony Romo. And Tony Romo is in a weird place. Everyone seemed to remember he was just an okay quarterback once he retired. Then he immediately crushed it as a broadcaster, so his career became overrated. Now people don't like his broadcasting anymore, but still prop up his play even more somehow. And that said, Tony Romo entered the NFL as an undrafted free agent out of Eastern Illinois, working his way up from clipboard holder to Dallas starter. When he finally got a shot in 06, Romo looked like the real deal. He threw for nearly 3,000 yards in just 10 starts, earning his first Pro Bowl nod. His best stretch came between 07 and 2014, racking up 4 Pro Bowl selections and leading the Cowboys to multiple playoff appearances. Romo's improvisational skills and clutch throws made him a fan favorite, and his 2014 campaign was genuinely elite. 34 touchdowns and a 113.2 passer rating, all while making the second team All-Pro. But the narrative around Romo became inflated. Despite solid career numbers, 34,183 passing yards, 248 touchdowns, and 97 passer rating, he finished with a 2-4 playoff record and 0 Super Bowl appearances, 0 conference championship appearances as well. The what-if conversations overshadowed reality. Romo was a very good quarterback. That's about it. Injuries derailed his final seasons, and he retired without ever reaching a conference championship. The nostalgia paints him as an underappreciated legend, but the truth is simpler. Romo was consistently good, occasionally great, and never elite enough to match the mythology. To round out this Cowboys crew here, we have Troy Aikman as well. Troy Aikman won 3 Super Bowls with the Cowboys, cementing his legacy as a champion quarterback. Drafted first overall in 1989, Aikman became an important piece of Dallas's dynasty years, earning 6 Pro Bowl selections and winning a Super Bowl MVP during one of those championships. His best statistical season came in 1993, 3,100 yards, 15 touchdowns, and a 99 passer rating while leading the Cowboys to another chip. But strip away the rings, and Aikman's numbers tell a different story. Over 12 seasons, he threw for just 165 touchdowns against 141 interceptions with a 61% completion percentage. He never topped 3,500 passing yards in a season and finished with a modest 81 career passer rating. Aikman benefited from Emmitt Smith, Michael Irvin, and an elite offensive line. He was efficient and mistake-averse, but those rings elevate him beyond what the stats support: a game manager on a stacked team. Speaking of game managers on stacked teams, we have Terry Bradshaw up next. Terry Bradshaw won 4 Super Bowls and earned 2 Super Bowl MVP awards, making him a Steelers legend. The first overall pick in 1970, Bradshaw struggled mightily early on. His rookie season is the worst in NFL history. It featured a 30.4 passer rating with 6 touchdowns and 24 interceptions. His second year wasn't much better: 13 touchdowns, 22 picks, and a 59.7 passer rating. He eventually found his footing, leading Pittsburgh to championships in 74, 75, 78, and 79. His 1978 MVP campaign showcased his peak: 28 touchdowns and a league-leading 7.9 yards per attempt. However, Bradshaw's career numbers really tell the truth: 27,989 passing yards, 212 touchdowns, and 210 interceptions, with a 52% completion percentage. He played on arguably the greatest roster ever assembled, the Steel Curtain defense that had 10 Hall of Famers on it. Contemporaries like Roger Staubach and Fran Tarkenton posted significantly better efficiency metrics. Bradshaw was clutch when it mattered, but his legendary supporting cast carried him to greatness. Being carried to greatness also pertains to William the Fridge Perry. He had one highlight and a lot of mid after that. William Perry became a cultural phenomenon with the 1985 Bears, but his fame far exceeded his actual production. The 22nd overall pick out of Clemson, Perry was a 335-pound defensive tackle who captured America's attention when Mike Ditka used to use him as a goal line fullback. His rookie season delivered solid numbers: 5 sacks and 2 fumble recoveries, while his offensive cameos produced 3 touchdowns, including one in the Super Bowl. But defensive coordinator Buddy Ryan called Perry a wasted pick and barely played him initially. Over 10 NFL seasons, Perry managed just 29.5 career sacks and 506 tackles. Respectable, but hardly dominant for a first-round selection. His best year came in 1986 with 5 sacks again, but he never developed into the elite pass rusher his draft position suggested. Perry's novelty act overshadowed his limitations, and he was a decent rotational player on an all-time great defense, yet his nickname and personality made him more famous than Hall of Famers on the same roster. The Fridge was fun, but not phenomenal. Another couple of fun players that weren't phenomenal were Eli Manning and Phillip Rivers, and I think they both will somehow find their way into the Hall of Fame. Eli at least has a few reasons as to why: his last name and beating the GOAT twice. The first overall pick in 2004, Manning became a Giants fixture for 16 seasons, starting 234 consecutive games. His magical playoff runs in 07 and 2011 defined his career: the helmet catch, clutch fourth quarter drives, and Giant-slaying performances that cemented his legacy. But Manning's regular season numbers tell a completely different story. He finished 117 and 117 as a starter with 57,000 passing yards, 366 touchdowns, and 244 interceptions, a 60% completion percentage, and 84 passer rating. He made just 4 Pro Bowls and never won an MVP or led the league in any major stat except for interceptions. Manning threw 27 interceptions in 2013 and 25 in 2010. Total leading the league in picks 3 times. He was wildly inconsistent and disappearing for entire stretches. The Hall of Fame debate rages on because of the rings overshadowed the mediocrity. Manning was never a top 5 QB in any season, and he was clutched twice and averaged for 14 other years. a 500 quarterback elevated by 2 incredible postseason runs and the Manning last name. But the other QB I mentioned doesn't have the name and definitely doesn't have the incredible postseason runs in Philip Rivers. Philip Rivers played 17 seasons without ever reaching a Super Bowl, yet many consider him to be a potential Hall of Famer. The 4th overall pick in 2004, Rivers took over in San Diego and immediately impressed, throwing for 3,388 yards and 22 touchdowns in his first year as a starter. His peak came between 2008 and 2013, earning multiple Pro Bowl selections and posting his elite numbers. In 2008, he threw for 34 touchdowns with a 105.5 passer rating, finishing 6th in MVP voting. Rivers retired with 63,440 yards, 421 touchdowns, and a 95.2 passer rating. Impressive volume stats accumulated over longevity. But he finished 134 and 106 as a starter with a dismal 5-7 playoff record, never advancing past the AFC Championship. He led the league in interceptions twice and threw crucial picks in big moments. He went 0 against Tom Brady, and he never won an MVP, never made a first-team All-Pro, and played on talented Chargers rosters that consistently underachieved. We remember his fiery competitiveness and gunslinger mentality, and it was nice to see him again this season. But truthfully, Rivers was very good for a long time, never great when it mattered most, and the Hall of Very Good, but definitely not Canton. Next up is a run of some running backs. Beginning with Marcus Allen. I know I briefly spoke about him saying earlier that he was better than Bo Jackson, and he was. Still, I think it's a little bit of revisionist history here with him. Marcus Allen won the 1985 MVP and Super Bowl MVP, making him a Raiders legend. The 10th overall pick in 1982, Allen exploded as a rookie for 1,098 yards and 14 total touchdowns in just 9 games. His MVP season was spectacular, 2,314 scrimmage yards and 14 touchdowns, while leading the league in rushing with 1,759 yards. But after that peak, Allen's production kinda sucked. He averaged just 680 rushing yards per season from 1986 to 1992, never topping 800 yards during that stretch. His feud with Al Davis buried him on the depth chart, and Allen finished with 12,243 rushing yards and 123 touchdowns over 16 seasons, numbers inflated by longevity because he played till he was 37 years old. He had 3 elite seasons, ignoring the mediocrity that followed. Allen was briefly great, then became a goal line specialist. One MVP season doesn't make a career legendary. And the same goes for Shaun Alexander. Shaun Alexander won the 2005 MVP after a monster season, 1,880 rushing yards and an NFL record 27 touchdowns. The 19th overall pick in 2000, Allen dominated from 2001 to 2005, posting 5 straight 1,000-yard seasons and earning 3 Pro Bowls. His 2005 campaign was historic like we mentioned, leading Seattle to the Super Bowl while earning first-team All-Pro. But Allen's success was built on Steve Hutchinson's blocking and an elite offensive line. After Hutchinson left in 2006, Alexander crumbled, 896 yards in 10 games, then 716 yards in 2007. He was out the league by 2008 at age 31. Over 9 seasons, Alexander rushed for 9,453 yards and 100 touchdowns, impressive totals that mask his complete dependence on blocking. He had one transcendent season, but we ignored how quickly he fell off. Alexander was a product of his system, not a generational talent. Without elite blocking, he was kinda ordinary. Now Shady was anything but ordinary. Lesean McCoy earned 6 Pro Bowls and 2 first-team All-Pro selections, making him one of the 2010's most decorated backs. The 53rd overall pick in 2009, McCoy's 2013 season was elite, with 1,607 rushing yards and 2,146 scrimmage yards while leading the league in rushing. He followed up with 1,319 yards in 2014, stamping his status as a dynamic playmaker. But McCoy's production nosedived after being traded from Philly. In Buffalo, he posted just one 1,200-yard season across 4 years. He finished his career as a backup in Kansas City and Tampa Bay, contributing minimally. Over 12 seasons, McCoy rushed for 11,101 yards with a 4.5-yard average. Solid numbers, but they don't match up to the hype. His elusiveness during his peak years was stuff of legend, but he got packed up quick out of the starting running back spot. 2 great seasons don't define greatness. And lastly, we have Joe Flacco. People really misremember who Joe Flacco was for most of his career, truly because of these last few seasons. Joe Flacco won his Super Bowl and his Super Bowl MVP after an incredible postseason run. The 18th overall pick in 2008, Flacco made the playoffs in each of his first 5 seasons, posting a 10-5 postseason record during that stretch. His 2012 playoff performance was legendary, 1,140 yards and 11 touchdowns across 4 games with 0 interceptions, looking unstoppable. But Flacco's regular season career tells a completely different story. 48,176 yards, 272 touchdowns, 172 interceptions with an 84 passer rating over 18 seasons. He has a 107-94 record as a starter and made just 1 Pro Bowl. After his Super Bowl, Baltimore gave him a $120 million contract and he immediately regressed, throwing 22 interceptions in 2013 with a 73.1 passer rating. He's had a mini resurgence over the past few years where he's been okay at best, and all of a sudden it's as if his final seasons in Baltimore, Philly, Broncos, and the Jets tenures didn't happen. Everyone remembers the Elite Dragon memes and that magical postseason run, but ignoring 10 plus years of mediocrity is crazy. And so there you have it. Players who are remembered for being better than what they were. Thanks for watching, and subscribe if you're new.